Hello and welcome, everybody. I am Santiago Faust, founder of Marabou Partners, a go-to-market agency. If you're seeing this video, you probably came here because you saw me chirping on LinkedIn about go-to-market and LinkedIn content. I'm just starting to get my Instagram going, so maybe you came from Instagram. I don't know where my page will be at by the time you're viewing this, but nonetheless, I've been in the go-to-market space for 5 years. I've been running my agency for the past year and a half. And in the last 3 months or so, we've seen almost a 4x increase in our revenue, about a 3.5x increase in our revenue. And in the next 2 months, if we even get a quarter of the deals come back, we're going to be at a 10x revenue from where we were 6 months from that point. So we've seen a huge explosion in the growth of our business. And I got to say that the biggest contributor to that is our LinkedIn and our LinkedIn strategy. So today I kind of want to break that down, what we've seen in the past and what we're seeing now and what we want to look at going forward. So to start things off, when I started my agency, I was an ex-salesperson, right? So I always prioritized business development at its core. Cold calling, cold emailing, cold DMing. Go out there, get a response from your prospect, get a yes, even better, get a no, book a meeting and close a meeting and continuously fill the pipeline that way. Now, cold outbound works. Anyone who says cold outbound doesn't work probably ran a campaign for about 500 emails, maybe made 100, 200 cold calls, didn't get a meeting, quit, sent 50, 100 DMs, didn't get a response, didn't get a meeting, quit. The thing about business development is it's a volume game. It's a quality game, but volume is the most important component. And anyone who says business development doesn't work is just not getting the results they wanted after sending a low amount of volume. But business development and cold outbound definitely works. So let me just preface that. But with cold outbound, even if you do book a prospect, right, their guard is still going to be up. Sales cycles are longer, the close rates are slimmer. Because at the end of the day, you're a stranger on the internet inviting them to a call that they know is a sales call. So you either have to be really good at the messaging or the problem has to be really, really clear to book appointments with cold outbound. And that's not to say not to do it, right? You should absolutely be sending emails, be making cold calls, be sending cold DMs. You should be doing everything you can to be getting in front of your prospects. But you should keep in mind that when you're conducting cold outbound, your prospects will always have their guard up because people are just fearful of salespeople. Salespeople, and I say this with all the respect in the world as an ex-salesperson, but the word sales is disgusting to a lot of people. People want to spend money. People want the solutions, but they don't want to be sold. They don't want other people to take their money because we are getting hundreds of thousands of advertisements and promotions every week. People just have their guard up and tune it out as soon as they see the word sales. So, with cold outbound, it works. You should always do it, but you should just go in there with that mindset of, hey, I have to disarm this prospect. How can I warm up this prospect? And what we've seen, especially if you're a business to business company, if you're selling any kind of B2B SaaS, B2B services, right? LinkedIn is where your prospects are sitting as long as you're not talking to restaurant owners or, home service companies, which is starting to change as we move forward. But if you're in a business to business kind of corporate niche, your clients are sitting on LinkedIn. So aside from the outbound, what we want to do is we want to push people to LinkedIn as quickly as possible. Why? Because, and just before we jump into it, I personally push them into my Instagram, into my Facebook. I try and get Marabou Partners in their face as much as possible without necessarily the annoying follow-up of just checking in. And by the way, never send just checking in emails, always provide value, but without going strictly into their inbox or strictly into their messages or, calling them up and kind of getting in front of them that way, because that creates a certain amount of resistance in the buyer's mind. So we push them to social media because that way your content acts as the follow-up, right? Your content acts as the extra messages that you're sending forward. Now, that works so well because when people leave the sales cycle or that time in between meetings, they're still seeing your face, they're still seeing your case studies, and carefully curated content actually moves these deals a lot forward a lot more quickly than it would, say, if you were just sending them emails. Hey, this and that. Great talking to you. Are you still struggling with it? It's easy to ignore that. It's also easy to ignore content, but it's just a very disarming way to show up in front of your prospects. Now, that is part of the success that we see in our business. But the biggest success we're seeing is actually inbound leads coming in, right? Uh, Going from, and I'm not the best salesperson, even though I was a salesperson, my close rate was around 10% from outbound. With inbound leads, we're looking at 40 to 50%, and we're booking anywhere from 3 to 10 inbound leads a week. So that is the biggest contributor to our revenue. And all those leads are coming from LinkedIn content. So what I want to do is I kind of want to talk about what I'm seeing on the market and how you can stand out on LinkedIn. And the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that people are treating LinkedIn as if it's a business forum, right? They're throwing job or company updates on there. They're throwing feature updates on there and just a bunch of content that your prospect does not care about. They do not care about the updates in your company. They actually don't even care about you or your company. What they care about is the whiffum, as we say in sales, the what's in it for them. So at the end of the day, to make a prospect scroll anything, there's so much more interesting stuff on TikTok, on Instagram. To make them take your LinkedIn post seriously, you have to phrase it in a way that's entertaining. And at the end of the day, you still want to be selling, but you want to phrase it in a way where it's enjoyable for the reader to read, right? Like, it's not like they're just posting an update, because at that point they're going to scroll past you in half a second and never give you any more attention. And also, when you get scrolled past a certain amount of times on the LinkedIn, the algorithm just stops putting you in front of certain people, right? As soon as you hit that see more button or you go from the post to the profile, the algorithm pushes you out to them more. So that key difference of, instead of just treating LinkedIn as a business forum, but treating it as a social media platform instead, is where we see the biggest increase in our business, right? And so the way we break down our content strategy is we do 60% tactical posts, right? Case studies, service demos, how-tos, things that when the right person sees it, it's going to speak to them. Your prospects, when they're dealing with these issues and you're talking about exactly how to solve them, it just speaks volumes, and it builds a lot of trust and authority in the prospect's eyes about you and about how you're perceived in your niche or in your industry, right? But at the end of the day, those posts aren't going to get the reach that you want. So you want to, and also, if you're always pitching, right, they're going to be like, who's this guy? Why is he always trying to sell something? You need to also position yourself as an industry leader, and industry experts. They're not shoving their product or their service down your throat 24/7, right? They're posting insightful stuff. So 30% of our posts are insightful, right? Company overviews, industry insights, market updates, things that people care about because it's relevant to their business and their position as whatever decision maker there are, whether it's the founder, head of marketing, head of accounting, whatever it is that speaks to that person, right? On a broad level that doesn't necessarily pitch you. Now, these aren't the best for driving leads, but they're great for driving traffic, and they're also great for just establishing that authority and that credibility. Hey, this, you're speaking on a topic that a lot of people have insights in. It's like, hey, who's this guy who knows, or who's this guy or gal who knows this much about this industry, right? So it just piques that industry interest. It establishes you as kind of the niche thought leader. But obviously, not one post is going to do it. It's just the consistency is the most important part. But yeah, 30% of our posts are insightful. And a lot of people question me on this last part, right? They're like, Santi, I see so much cringy content on LinkedIn. My girlfriend broke up with me. Here's 5 things I learned about B2B tech sales. Like, no, like, that is cringy content and you want to stay away from that. But the 10% of our content strategy is personal posts. And people disagree with me on that, but I am all in on treating LinkedIn as a social media as opposed to a business forum. And what we've seen across the data from our agency and also our client's agency is that these 10% actually move the needle a lot more than the industry insights and a lot more than the tactical posts. Because when someone's constantly looking at your feed or at your posts on their feed, and they see that you can help them, and they're intrigued by what you do, right? But at the end of the day, like I talked about earlier, there is that sales resistance. A lot of people are hesitant to hop on sales calls because they know they're going to be sold to. So it has to be a pretty burning pain that you're speaking to for them to hop on. But the other part of sales is, hey, like, do I trust this guy and do I like this guy? So when they've consistently seen you on their feed, right, speaking about the problems in their business, and they see that one post, and say I made a post about surfing and my prospect's a surfer, then it's like, wow, like I kind of want to talk to this guy now. Like there's a little bit of that human interest in there that you do want to speak to them. So those personal posts we find move the needle really well. And then in that, we'll also maybe throw in a viral post once a month based on Triggerfy signals that we're picking up. We're always monitoring the data on our competitors to see, hey, what's working well for them and how are they getting in front of our prospects. But yeah, that's typically how we treat our content strategy. And the way we position our content is based on two things. It's based on the external data, which of our competitors are doing really well on LinkedIn, and what are our prospects engaging with. That's the external data part. The internal data part we look at is we curate, we run Claude through Fathom, and we are consistently pulling our top 5 objections, right? And with those objections, we make our content around, and we try to answer these objections before they even hop on the call, right? Because at that point, and we're not just screaming the objections, but we're just subtly hinting at it, right? And so with the content strategy, with the data that we're pulling, and with the consistency that we're doing it at, now we recommend 3 to 6 times, and you can go more, but definitely not less than 3 with that. And we're posting 5 to 6 times a week, but with that consistency, you will see the results, right? And so with that, that's been the biggest. That's why we're experiencing almost a 4x in our business, and why we're projected to 10x in the next 2 months, because we have doubled down on LinkedIn, and because we follow a strict strategy that's based off data internally and externally. And the more we post, the more data we can analyze to see, hey, what works, what drove leads, what built an audience. But that's the biggest shift we're seeing, right? Pre LinkedIn, people might have had an accounting problem. They would search bookkeepers near me, right? But I guarantee you, your prospects aren't searching marketing agencies near me. Very few of them are searching SEO services near me. But instead, what's going on is they are consistently seeing content on their feed, and they're generating a short list of people that they want to work with when that problem arises, or when it becomes so loud that they have to make a choice. And with the LinkedIn content, what you're doing is you're building trust at scale. So when that problem actually rises in your viewers, they already know who to call. They're not going on the internet trusting more random strangers. They're going to the person who they know and they like, and who they have consistently seen on LinkedIn speak about their problem, right? So that is our content strategy at a whole. Now, I'm happy to break down any niche cases. Leave a comment. You can go to our website, maraboupartners.com, fill out the form, or if you have me on LinkedIn, shoot me a DM. Right now I'm at about 15,000 followers, so I still got time to answer some DMs. I don't know where I'll be by the time you see this video, but I do try my best to engage with as many different people as I can, because it helps me learn, it helps me get better, and yeah, it's just great to always be learning. So, if you've gotten this far, I want to thank you for taking the time to take a look at a new approach to go to market. What we're seeing is the go to market of the future. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I hope you all start to post on LinkedIn, whether you're a sales rep, whether you're a founder. Post on LinkedIn, build your personal brand on LinkedIn. It's going to be something that I guarantee you won't regret. Thank you.